Avast me hearties!
Arr!
Yes, it's International Talk Like a Pirate Day! Couldn't resist. Good afternoon, and thanks for tuning in for our live broadcast of SMTV on this Wednesday afternoon. I'm Duncan Gilman.
And I'm Willie Kelly.
One question we hear from viewers all the time is how important is building a community to my overall social strategy? Today we'll talk to someone tasked with that very job as we interview Michael Bepko, the Global Online Community Manager for Whole Foods Market.
In the meantime, remember if you have a question you want to ask us about your social media project, email us at questions@splashmediau.com or tweet them to us using the hashtag SMTVQuestions. We'll answer your questions on a future broadcast.
So tell me, what do you think? Good idea or bad idea rolling out advertising not just for Facebook pages, but for Facebook personal profiles?
I think overall it's a good idea. I think there's going to be a lot of people that are interested in it. Obviously, Facebook's still looking to monetize. And I think there are ways that both individual users and companies will enjoy the benefits of it.
Very possibly. You know, I brought this up because a couple months ago in the news there was some talk of Facebook rolling out something called Highlight, and it is a way to promote your personal status by paying a little extra money. Now we're seeing on a couple of news sites here that Facebook is now calling this Promote. It's going to be a Promote button, which is a little bit confusing because it's the same name that the page advertisements have, but it may actually be happening. Facebook has confirmed that they're going to be testing this feature, and you'll be able to promote a personal profile status update.
Yeah, and like I said, overall I think there are going to be applications and uses, and again, it's just another great way to help them monetize. But just a good example would be, you know, obviously the Splash Media U page and the SMTV pages are going to be talking about us being on the show today and, you know, those types of promotions.
Right.
But we also, I know right as we were walking down here, I retweeted your tweet about us being on the show today, and we do that on our personal Facebooks as well. And that just helps us get that little extra reach for those things. People, CEOs can do it for their companies.
That's true,
and even
yeah.
employees throughout the company can do that as well. So I think it does have a lot of business application. And, you know, it's letting pages reach a little bit further, letting users reach a little bit further, and also opening Facebook's revenue stream a little further.
Well, that's totally true, and I completely understand the need for more revenue. I mean, they're looking for ways to advertise and create those revenue streams. The disappointing stock price, I'm sure, is part of that. But I wonder, though, where is the line where some users decide, too much advertising, I'm out of here, I'm finding a new social platform?
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like there are going to be some that do that. I mean, but there has been for ages. People have left when Timeline came along. People left when adding photos came along. And a lot of people out there are just purists of the original platform. But overall, every year, every month, every day, Facebook has more users than they did the previous day.
That's a good point.
And until that stops, I mean, they have no reason to prevent things like this to keep them growing and you know, keep users involved.
Yeah, we'll see where it goes.
All right.
One of the most important parts of a successful social media marketing strategy is having an audience to engage with. And to that end, we're always interested in how big brands are using social media to build their online communities. I recently had a chance to interview via Skype Michael Bepko, who is the Global Online Community Manager for Whole Foods Market, and asked him those very questions. Michael, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I wanted to first ask you so you could kind of help our audience understand, how is Whole Foods in terms of social media structured? Do you have community managers for every store or for every region?
We refer to them as community moderators. It's not a dedicated role for them, but pretty much all of our local stores have a dedicated Twitter account, Facebook page. Typically, in those channels, they're moderated by a designated store marketer. So every single store has someone either in store promotions or store marketing. So while they don't spend all of their time managing their online community, they are the ones that oversee it. So we are also comprised of 11 different regions. So each region has anywhere between 20 to 50 stores. And then our team here at Global Headquarters in Austin manage our national accounts.
You know, one of the things that strikes me most about Whole Foods and the social media campaigns that you run is how photogenic all of your material is. I think you're probably second or third behind maybe just babies and puppies in terms of photo sharing capability when it comes to food as a food market. In fact, one of your recent posts, I think it was the recipe for the apple peanut butter granola sandwich, has so far over 6,000 shares, one of which was mine, by the way. You're welcome. I uploaded the wrong one.
Thank you.
So I wanted to know, what would you recommend to businesses who want to make their content more shareable or just more photogenic in general?
Well, a good photographer is certainly key. I think finding a way to capture an image in the best way possible really is going to, I think, tap into sort of the excitement of what people feel when they look at good imagery in the social space. We happen to be lucky in the fact that we're a food retailer, and so what comes along with the territory is that we're taking photos of food. We do have a great photography team here. We're also in a place where a lot of the printed materials that we're creating for campaigns that live in the store are made now. They're designed with an eye to how people will react to them in these new image-based social platforms like Pinterest and Instagram. So it's a really cool thing to see the shift of no longer are we just pushing our traditional materials through our social channels, but we're actually creating materials that are intended to live and resonate well in these social spaces.
That's really interesting and definitely something new that we're seeing brands do. So I have to ask you on the personal side though, do you happen to have a favorite recipe?
We've got so many and they're all so fantastic. A recent one that I took a liking to was a chocolate ice cream cake for Labor Day, which up until then, had to go down in the bakery to buy one. I never knew how to make it, but it's actually pretty simple and pretty amazing.
It sounds delicious. Well, one thing with all of the content that gets posted out there and with all of your regions and all of your stores, over 300 locations, plus you've got the Whole Planet Foundation, Whole Kids Foundation, all of these wonderful parts to your brand, to the Whole Foods brand. How do you keep the marketing message consistent across all of that?
Well, it can definitely be a challenge, but as I was saying earlier, each of our stores, the local accounts are moderated by someone that's either the point person for marketing or store promotions for that store. So they already, they've been trained, they've been hired specifically because they know how to represent the brand. And asking them to do this in the digital space is a very seamless transition for them. In fact, very, very instinctual for them. Like I said, it's all about the hiring. But also, here at Global Headquarters, our team really, our primary responsibility, aside from running our national channels, is to provide the support and be a resource to make sure that we're sending out consistent messaging from all the local channels.
That's great. Michael, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us some of your insight from the perspective of a big business, which I think can really help even smaller brands perfect and focus their social media campaigns. If you're a foodie or just want to learn more about the company, you can visit them at WholeFoodsMarket.com. And now's the part of the show where we answer questions that our viewers have sent in during the week. Our first question is from Stacy, who would like to know, is there a way to document the SEO impact of social mentions?
Well, Stacey, that's a tough question to answer. It is something that is somewhat trackable, but as far as documenting it, it's going to be a lot of manual recording, and it's not going to be a 100% direct correlation. Because overall, as you're building community and as you're creating new content and just overall following through with your social media strategy, you're going to be seeing an increase in mentions and an increase in SEO returns overall, assuming that you're doing everything correctly. But now there is also the other element of when you are mentioned, someone is using your hashtag or using your Twitter handle, which is creating a new link to your profile.
True.
And anytime someone likes your page on Facebook, in their like list deep within their profile, there's also going to be a new link to your page. So every time you grow your community or get a new mention, you are theoretically improving your SEO traction just a little bit. But now as far as direct tracking, unless you take the time to monitor that growth very specifically with the SEO returns, it's going to be just almost impossible or not worth the while to put in that tracking. But that doesn't mean it's not undoable if that's a metric that's highly valuable to you and your company.
Right, I would say the same answer. I think theoretically, yes, it does improve SEO, but it's going to take so much time and effort to find. I just did a search here for Whole Foods, and the stuff that comes up is the Whole Foods profile. So if we scroll down, we can see Whole Foods on Twitter here, and then Whole Foods on Pinterest. So it's the big brand that's mentioned, not the actual mentions. And I think part of that is because it depends on the authority of the person mentioning you. And the reason that you gave at the beginning was that all of these retweets, all of these mentions, they give the page more authority, not necessarily that one tweet.
Yes, absolutely. And I think the biggest thing that you really need to focus on is not how the mentions are directly affecting your SEO, just that overall month over month or week over week, your SEO returns and your community involvement, being your social mentions, are increasing. If you have both those things on the rise, you're doing very well. And I mean, that should really be your true focus. But if you do want to get that granular with it, it'd be a very manual effort, but potentially doable.
Absolutely.
Bhavesh wrote to us, I've heard Paul Slack explain the 90-10 rule. Does that apply to all platforms or just Twitter?
That is a good question because we do talk about the 90-10 rule a lot, and it applies across the board, all platforms. That means on your blog, for every 9 educational, informational, engaging posts you have, of course everything should be engaging, you are allowed that one that is a full report or goes into detail about one of your products. You are allowed to do that 10% of the time without appearing too salesy.
Yeah, and again, the biggest focus is just not being too salesy. That does push people away, and that really cuts back to the the featured topic at the beginning that we had there about the Facebook post, is when is it too much? And we've always found the 90-10 rule is what works best, and that's, like Duncan said, across all platforms.
And on some platforms, it's easier to obey that rule than on others. I think Twitter is actually probably a more difficult platform to stick to that because you're tweeting so much.
Yes.
With Facebook posts, you can kind of plan it out. These posts are going to be kind of fun and about a holiday or about our industry in sort of a indirect way. But on a platform where you're posting all the time, or maybe on Pinterest, I guess, is a little bit different because you're probably posting a lot of your own products. But a platform like Twitter, it's kind of hard to measure that.
Yeah, well, and even with Pinterest, you still want to follow the rule, and it is a little more difficult because it's so tempting to just post all your products. But really, you need to be posting, if you're, say, a home seller, and you're trying to obviously sell your houses, you're going to have all those pins. But you're also going to want to post the community that they're in, the school system. If it's a product, you want to post related products, things in your industry. Again, you don't want to overflood with just your products, because if people wanted to see that, they would already have just gone to your website, gone to the store. You're trying to get new people engaged, and that's the key here.
Good point, and I love that example for Pinterest too. Well, shiver me timbers, it's time to end today's show. Thanks again to Michael Bepko for joining us via Skype today, and thank you for joining us as well.
Remember, if there's anything that we can help you with, don't hesitate to contact us and submit your questions.
For Splash Media, I'm Duncan Gilman.
And I'm Willie Kelly. Thanks for watching, and enjoy talking like a pirate today.